DC area Google searches for criminal defense lawyers, wiping hard drives, and offshore banking are spiking as the greatest corruption scandal in our nation's history unfolds. Orders of magnitude what they found on Tricky Dick, and potentially involving millions of government bureaucrats and so-called nonprofits. It all kicked off with Rasmussen Reports, who found Google searches for criminal defense lawyers spiked in D.C. after the election, hitting nearly 4 times any other state. Ex-users ran some other terms, and it turns out searches are soaring for RICO statutes, for, quote, the definition of treason, quote, penalties for criminal conspiracy, and statute of limitations, along with Swiss Bank, Offshore Bank, and BleachBit, the tool Hillary Clinton famously used to wipe her hard drives. DC searches for lawyer have soared 400%. In other words, we're going to need bigger prisons. The reason, of course, is that Doge found the mother lode, the tens of billions, perhaps hundreds of billions, that the deep state has been siphoning from Americans in what is effectively a universal basic income for the entire radical left and its media mouthpieces from Politico to New York Times to the BBC. All of this, of course, is very illegal. The statutory penalty for steering government money to your friends or associates is theft of government property, 10 years, and misuse of public money, also 10 years, unless it's under $100, in which case it's just 1 year. Simply giving campaign funds to relatives, which is apparently common practice in Congress, gets you 5 years. Then, of course, there's the malicious prosecution, not least by the FBI. So perjury gets you 5 years, obstruction of justice is 10 years, tampering with evidence, also 10 years, and destruction, alteration, or falsification of evidence is 20 years for any bureaucrats thinking about resisting Doge. Now, that's without getting into the definition of treason that bureaucrats are so curious about these days, which is, of course, punishable by execution. In case you wonder why they're fighting Doge so hard, this isn't just about their livelihoods, this is about 20-year prison sentences. A recent survey found nearly half of federal workers plan to actively resist Trump, which isn't surprising considering precisely 92.5% of D.C. area votes went to Kamala, but one does wonder how many of those resistors should be in prison instead. So what's next? Brought to you by OnChain.com. D.C. is already emptying out like rats abandoning ship. Zillow recently estimated D.C. home prices have dropped 15% since the election, $139,000. Homes for sale in D.C. Metro have jumped by 23%. In some parts of government-infested North Virginia, it's 60 to 70%, and that's before the mass layoffs kick in. Interestingly, the biggest surge in D.C. area listings are houses over $1 million, suggesting the rats are falling over themselves to get out, either because their U.S. aid blank checks are bouncing or because there is, in fact, a definition of treason. Doge's anti-corruption crusade has only begun. By the time Elon's done, I don't think Americans will ever look at the federal government the same. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.